Welcome to another episode of the Purpose Today with Dr. April Dobson podcast. I'm so excited about today's episode because we're going to talk about something that I believe that every professional at some point thinks about, and I want to ensure that you all are postured for success. We are going to talk about purpose-driven problem solving in turbulent job markets. And regardless of whether or not you're a professional in the traditional workforce or if you are an entrepreneur who is in the marketplace, this episode is going to be for you. I recently read an article, a Newsweek article by Suzanne Blake, and she was highlighting the warning that Andrew Yang gave for millions of Americans that they could lose their jobs this year. And so if you take the two key approaches that I'm going to give you in today's episode, you are going to minimize or completely eliminate any adverse impact from the shifts and changes in today's job market and what's going on globally in the workforce. So don't go anywhere. We're going to be back after these special sponsorship messages. This episode of Purpose Today is brought to you in part by Purpose Today Global and the Purpose Professionals community. If you're a professional who desires to pivot in your career, you want to grow and develop, you have a desire to network with like-minded professionals, or you desire to launch your business that's purpose-aligned, join the Purpose Professionals community. The link to the Purpose Professionals community is available in the YouTube chats.
Dreaming of writing a book, launching a podcast, or creating a digital course? Ready to finally align your career, creativity, and impact? The Purpose Aligned Life Premium Coaching Cohort is here to help you turn purpose into reality. You'll receive tailored services, a personalized one-on-one assessment, 10 weekly group sessions, and exclusive strategy session, all for your desired transformation.
If you're interested in more information on the Purpose Aligned Life Next Group Cohort, then click the link in the chat to schedule your meeting via Zoom. Welcome back to Purpose Today. I'm so excited to just jump right in. Now, earlier I referenced an article, and if you haven't had an opportunity to see that article, I'm sharing it with you all on today. Now, I won't go through all of these details, but I do encourage you to take the time, if you have time in your schedule, to review Suzanne Blake's article referencing the warning that Andrew Yang issued. And it talks about how the end of the office, due to artificial intelligence and the emergence of artificial intelligence, is really going to impact positions and make a lot of jobs obsolete. And the greatest impact is anticipated by white-collar workers. Now, I want to also highlight that in this particular article, it highlights the fact that 181,000 net jobs were created last year in the U.S. alone. And there is also data from this that shows that there were fewer additional jobs in the U.S. than there were during the Great Recession recovery period. Now, I'm not sharing this information as a means to scare anyone. I'm sharing this information to let you know that it's so important that you take the right steps to ensure that you are appropriately positioned to have minimal to no impact as there are changes in the job market. Now, I want to really drive home that it is so important that you see things the right way. There is not a shortage of resources, and it's so important that you position yourself for success, that you position yourself for what you're desiring. And it's important that you build the life that you want, and that you put systems in place to ensure that you don't have an impact, or that there's very minimal impact as there are shifts. So the two things that I want to talk about are purpose and problem solving. And these are going to be key. What you do, the actions that you take, how you posture yourself, how you prepare is going to be key. Now, the first thing that I want to talk about is being able to use your purpose and what you're passionate about in the marketplace if you're a business owner, in the workforce if you are a professional in the traditional workforce. Is purpose alignment. Now, I want to make sure that I give a little bit of insight on this. There's so many people in the workforce who are in a position, they're in a career because they feel that they have to do what they're doing and they're not purpose aligned. So being purpose aligned is so important because it's going to allow you to be more innovative. It is going to allow you to show up fully. It's going to allow you to be better postured to do what you do with excellence, right? And you really usually will show up authentically when you're purpose aligned. And then the second one is solving critical problems. Now, you want to be positioned to both be purpose aligned and solve critical problems. So you want to think about how you can use your purpose to solve problems, and you want to be able to identify how you can solve problems in your community, how you can solve problems in the world, how you can solve problems in your workplace. And as you continue to solve critical problems and you're aligned with purpose, you will always have an opportunity for work. Now, things are definitely shifting. They're shifting significantly. A lot of organizations are going to what some people refer to as a gig type roles, or roles that are for specific projects, roles that are for a specific duration, and they're taking opportunities to ensure that they're streamlining their efforts. And so you want to ensure that you are evaluating the problems that you can solve and how you can use your purpose to solve those problems, and ways to introduce efficiencies in doing so. Now, there are so many platforms that are available now to look for contract work, to look for gigs, if you will. There's Upwork, there's Fiverr, there's LinkedIn. There's so many different platforms that you can use to create a profile if you're seeking opportunities to fulfill contracts. And there are companies and leaders, business owners who are looking for people to do specific projects. Now, I want to also highlight that there are also contracts that you can find, government contracts. I have a very good friend of mine, Dr. Ebony Gray, who provides insight through Gray's Consulting Group on how you can acquire different contracts. But there's so many different approaches. You never want to limit yourself just to a specific company or a specific approach, because as things evolve, there may be changes. So you want to always position yourself to ensure that you can use your purpose, you can use your ability to solve problems and solutions that you identify for those critical problems to identify opportunities for you. Now, the other thing, and in the same vein, talking about being purpose aligned and talking about being able to solve problems, is specifically asking yourself a couple of questions. You want to ask yourself, how can you specifically and the industry use your purpose and what you're passionate about? So what is it that you can bring to the marketplace? What can you bring within your desired industry with your purpose to solve, issues? There are so many countless examples that I could probably talk about, but one example that I will utilize is I will utilize Uber for an example. Now, when Uber was created, Uber was very unique in that the creators of Uber developed an app because people needed transportation, right? They needed transportation, and Uber was able to bring drivers with vehicles in a space that individuals who needed transportation could actually access an app to find rides. This was ride sharing. And people will joke about the fact that when they were growing up, their parents told them never get in the car with strangers. And if you're a person who has ever taken an Uber or you've taken a Lyft, then you've gotten in the car with strangers. So that was a solution to a problem, right? And using different approaches and resources to ensure that that problem could be solved. And Uber is available in many countries now. And there are even some countries that have Uber, and there's an agreement between the driver and Uber that they can actually receive a car to use for Uber services. And after so much time, that particular car is paid in full, and they get to keep the car after they've paid it in full from providing transport. But in any instance, this is one solution that was created to solve a problem, right? There are so many other examples that I could probably give, but definitely think outside the box. Think about how you can solve problems in your community, in your state, in your country, where it might be. When you can solve problems using your purpose, then you're going to always have an opportunity for business or for employment if you choose to be in the traditional workforce, or for business if you are in the marketplace. So those are things that you want to think about. Now, also in the second question, and I talked about this a little bit, how you can solve problems while aligning with your purpose and using the gifts that you have, using the talents that you have, using the skills that you have, using your expertise and education to do that. And so you really can think outside the box. I recently spoke on a panel at UCC, and there was a student who shared a need that he had as it related to resources and funds for school and for other things that he needed. And he called back home and he, asked for funds from his parents. And, they did not at that time provide funds. And so he came up with a way that he could provide a solution. He said, hey, I see all of these other students and I see all of these people who have their shoes that need to be repaired. We don't have a place here on the campus where they can go and have their shoes repaired. And he actually started taking clients, repairing shoes, and he had more than enough funding. So he created a business solving problems using the gifts that he had to ensure that people who had a need for having their shoes repaired, that they could have them repaired. And it also created revenue for him. These are just some examples, and there's countless others. There are people who have identified solutions, they've launched it into the marketplace, and now it's being utilized. If I think about some of the past guests who were on Purpose Today with Dr. April Dobson, they provided solutions to problems that they saw in the world. I think about Alinka, who started an organization as a result of issues that she had with her health. She wasn't getting any answers. She didn't have solutions. And so she was able to create a platform that is basically a matchmaking for both patients and for providers to ensure that they had options for healthcare based on worldviews, based on what was important to them. So she established Saha Collective. And so it was a solution to a problem in the world. So when you begin to think about your purpose, being aligned with your purpose, thinking about solutions that you can bring in the world, you'll always have an opportunity. You might need to shift the way that you are approaching the professional environment. It might transition from being employed for another company or another entity to being employed for yourself, for your company, and then also creating avenues for solutions in providing career opportunities for individuals who desire to stay in the traditional workforce, but they don't want to launch their own business. So these are things that you can do to ensure that you remain postured so that you're not impacted by changes in the job force. Now, another thing that I want to highlight, and this goes in with the second one that I named when I talked about solving problems while you're aligning with your purpose, using your gifts, your talents, your skills, your education, and your expertise. Now, I want to highlight that we should always be developing. We should always be growing. We should always position ourselves to continue to develop and grow. And it doesn't always have to be a formal education program. It could be informal. There's so many things that you can learn on LinkedIn. There's so many different courses that you can take on LinkedIn. There's so many different things that you can learn on YouTube. You can receive shadowing. You can hold informational interviews to gain insight on opportunities that you haven't explored or fields that you haven't explored. But you should constantly be growing and developing. That is important. And so one of the things that I mentioned at the offset regarding the article is that the shifts because of AI replacing, different types of positions and roles. Now, I do want to say that in a prior episode of Purpose Today, I had a guest, Dr. Iyanu Odibade, and we talked about how some organizations are replacing positions with AI. But what should be happening is organizations should be using AI as a tool, a leverage tool, and as a force multiplier, not to replace employees, because there are simply things that humans have the capability of doing that AI does not. And so while AI may save valuable time, it may not address things fully as a human could, and there are things that AI may not catch. So I encourage any organizational leaders who are watching this to use AI as a force multiplier, use it to leverage rather than replace staff. Now, in the same vein of talking about AI, for you leaders who are in the traditional workforce and you intend to do your best to remain in the traditional workforce and you don't have an interest in entrepreneurship, I would really encourage you to really evaluate the contributions that you're making. Because even if you're in the traditional workforce, oftentimes you are using entrepreneurial skills and efforts in an organization. So I do encourage you to consider whether or not there are any services that you could provide on a consultation basis that could solve problems. And I want to also talk about using opportunities to grow. And there's so many different AI tools, so many different AI types of AI software and programs and platforms. And it's important that you start educating yourself on how to utilize and leverage different AI tools and AI software. It's something that is not going away. You know, we can think about how the internet, when it first came, we were connecting to the internet through dial-up, right? And people aren't really doing that anymore, right? But AI isn't going anywhere, so it's important to learn how to use AI tools. And I do want to share that the promotional short video clip that you saw earlier about the purpose-aligned life, I created that promotional video utilizing AI. So you want to ensure that you are remaining abreast of changing trends in the workforce, and that you're keeping yourself educated, you're keeping yourself informed, and you're being flexible and you're adapting, right, to the changes. And that is going to help you. You know, I know that that falls within the second question that I said that you have to ask yourself, but that is going to help you to ensure that you can remain ahead of any shifts, right? And that there's minimal impact. So again, you want to think about ways that you can align with purpose. And you should be continuing to grow, develop, continuing to evolve. And I don't know if you all noticed the embedded video within the article that I shared earlier, but it talked about job hugging, that some people are spending more time in roles. Now, I want to encourage you to have a proper balance. There are times that you do need to pivot. There's times that you do need to advance and that you do need to grow. And so you want to ensure that you're keeping yourself positioned for opportunities. You want to, on a regular basis, update your LinkedIn profile, update your CV or your resume on a regular basis, because this is going to ensure that when you identify opportunities that are of interest to you and that are purpose aligned and that allow you to solve the kind of problems that you want to solve, that allow you to help the kind of people who you want to help, that you're positioned to do that and you're not having to take time to go and prepare your LinkedIn or go and revise your resume. You want to ensure that you are properly postured and you're properly positioned for opportunities that are of interest to you. You know, there's been such an increase of the number of individuals who have secured contracts, they've secured projects using Upwork and a lot of other different platforms. So you do want to avail yourself of that, and you do want to ensure that you're remaining knowledgeable on various platforms and on various tools that you can utilize to remain successful in your career or in your business. Now, I know I've talked about what might seem to be basic for some, it might seem to be complex for others. But I just challenge you, wherever you found yourself on the spectrum, if you thought this to be basic, then ensure that you're implementing it and you're using it. If you found this to be complex or a challenge, then find ways that you can start implementing it. You want to do something every day to help you to ensure that you remain purpose aligned. You want to take time to reflect each day to see how you are purpose aligned, how you can better purpose align, to also make assessments on how you're solving problems where you are and how you can solve problems in a more meaningful way. It is always good to collaborate, so you want to collaborate with other professionals regarding how you can work together and partner to solve problems. I just had a meeting earlier today with another business owner who's in another country, and we talked about partnership efforts that would be beneficial, mutually beneficial. And I think that you can have synergistic effects, and you can have more that you can accomplish to impact people when you partner with others. When you can partner with others on solving problems, it creates an even greater impact. Now, I've tried to do my best to watch the chat and doing my best to respond within the chat. If there's anything that I missed that I didn't answer orally or that I didn't answer in the chat, certainly feel free to reach out. Feel free to send an email. If you are interested in the Purpose Aligned Life coaching program, that's a program for individuals who may feel like they're aligned in their career, but there are other things that they need to do in their life that are in alignment with purpose. Maybe it's publishing a book, authoring a book. Maybe it is launching a podcast. Maybe it's creating a digital course. Maybe it's creating a coaching program. Whatever it is, the Purpose Aligned Life Premium Coaching Group Program is for you if you fall into that category. Now, in the coming weeks, I'm going to talk about the Purpose Aligned Career Group Coaching Program, but that will be in the coming weeks. If you are someone who has desires to do what you're dreaming about, you're already aligned in your career, but you have more that you want to do, more impact that you want to make, books that you want to write, podcasts that you want to start, digital courses that you want to create, and you need someone to guide you through that process, someone to come alongside you, partner with you, so that you can position yourself to solve more problems for more people, then use the link in the chat to schedule a Zoom consultation to talk about the Purpose Aligned Life and how it might be the solution for you to move forward and better align with your purpose in life. Now, I want to thank all of you for tuning in today to this episode of Purpose Today. It has been such a joy, such a privilege, such an honor to connect with all of you. I know that as you continue to utilize your gifts, utilize your talents, utilize your skills, your education, your expertise in alignment with purpose, you're going to continue to have success. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Purpose Today, purpose-driven problem solving in turbulent job markets with the essential strategies for the traditional workforce and for entrepreneurs. I look forward to seeing you on a future episode of Purpose Today. Make it a purpose-filled day today and every day. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you for your engagement. I look forward to seeing you all on another episode of Purpose Today with Dr. April Dobson.
Dreaming of writing a book, launching a podcast, or creating a digital course? Ready to finally align your career, creativity, and impact? The Purpose Aligned Life Premium Coaching Cohort is here to help you turn purpose into reality. You'll receive tailored services, a personalized one-on-one assessment, 10 weekly group sessions, and exclusive strategy session, all for your desired transformation.